Welcome to 247 Real Talk. I'm the host, Julian Perry. It's a pleasure to be here with you once again for the 299th episode of the 247 Real Talk podcast. I know I said that I'll be here once a month, and it's been longer than that, but I've taken some time to reevaluate some things. And we'll talk about that along with the fact that, you know, we need to be really alarmed by the direction in which this generation is going. So sit back, relax, and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. You might see changes behind me. I know that you used to see the Real Talk logo, the plaque on the wall. It's still back there, but things have changed. The studio is changing around. There's a lot of changes and things being removed and taken out and added. And this is because there is a time and place under the sun for everything, right? And where we are right now is a time and place under the sun for what has become evident to me is a need for a change. This is the 299th episode. This is a podcast I started when COVID had just started and we were all quarantined and things were going on and people were struggling, and I felt the need to reach out and help, and that's how this got started. And what I want to talk about is two things this episode. I won't be long. The first one is a discussion I had with a friend of mine today, someone who really supports this podcast. And we were talking about these things we're seeing in the news now where kids are stabbing their parents to death. Kids are killing their parents in different ways. This has happened all over the country and is becoming more and more, I don't know if it's becoming more and more prevalent or is becoming more and more reported. But the fact of the matter is, we should be alarmed. We should be alarmed that the generation has changed as such that kids are feeling that their reaction to whatever it is that they feel that they have suffered under the hands of their parents, whether it be abandonment, whether it be parents are too strict, whether it be physical abuse, whether it be mental abuse, whatever it is, they feel that the way that they solve it is to murder their parents. When I was growing up, I was completely scared of my father, who is and was still is always the most loving parent, and my mother. And I was afraid in the sense, not afraid to be around them or afraid to hang out with them, but when their faces got serious, I would stop doing what I knew to be wrong. They didn't have to beat me. They didn't have to yell at me. They simply had to give me a look. And everything that I knew I could remember from a child told me that that look represented that they didn't approve of what I was doing. Throughout life, as I got older, that look changed, obviously, because it became less relevant as you become an adult. My mom always had that look, though, regardless. My father, not so much. But the point is that we all grew up, we all go through our years of rebellion. We all grew up when we become what we think is upset with our parents. And our reaction is usually to pout, to sometimes disobey them, sometimes be a bit rogue, sometimes mutter under our breaths. I can't speak for the reaction of kids who grew up under physical abuse, where they were beat relentlessly. We know about famous stories, and I can say this, I think, without any legal ramifications. There's been in movies about, like Michael, the movie that came out, where their own children are claiming a level of abuse, yet they went to stardom, even though they probably had many, many psychological challenges. We know people who have dealt with abandonment, where either the parents completely abandoned them, or sometimes their parents were maybe a single parent or both parents trying to do better for their kids and working multiple jobs, which allowed them less time than was probably needed by the children or that child. As time has gone on, as studies and medicine has advanced, we've got a better understanding now of the younger years of children, that critical time of parent-child interaction and bonding, and how much more value and how much more it's needed to be focused on in the rearing and upbringing and the developmental years of children. But there are circumstances that sometimes defy those opportunities. Yet our world is filled with many stalwarts, many scholars, many people who went on to do great things and were empathetic to others who struggled, who managed their way through those difficulties of not having time with their parents or abuse or whatever. The one thing they did not do, let's look at what they did. They rebelled. Sometimes they went down with the wrong crowd, ended up getting into trouble, ended up going to jail. Some of them ran away from home, ended up dead, ended up in bad company, ended up changing their lives. Some of them decided that this was not for them and they moved out and they made it. Some of them stuck their head in the sand, ignored the strange of what was going on around them, became scholars. There were many reactions and many responses to challenges of that parents faced or parents subjected their kids to. But I don't remember growing up hearing a child killing their parents being one of them. I can think back to cases years ago like the Melendez brothers. But these were things that made huge headlines because they were not the norm. Children just did not stab their parents to death. Right here in New York, over the last month, I can think of 2 instances of watching the news where children were arrested for killing their parents, maybe 3. And I don't understand where there is such a break in the inherent bond through the process of childbirth, where a child kills a parent, and more so, a child kills their mother. In the most recent case that is in the news, I think yesterday and today, and we were at, what are we today? July 10th, I think is today. I'm sorry, I lost track of time. 2026, where a son felt that his mother, who I believe she was a correction officer, she retired from a correction officer. He held resentment because of the years she had to go to work as a correction officer. You know, if you're a correction officer, you get caught overnight shifts. Sometimes it's lockdown. But she apparently provided for him, was retired now, was home with him, probably trying to make it for the time. And his resentment, that bond got broken, and his resentment was so much that he stabbed her to death. We've heard of cases where parents won't give their kids money to go out and do something with their friends, so they stab them to death. We've heard cases where kids, got themselves in the wrong crowd and wanted drugs and couldn't get it, so they stab. And see, stabbing, I mean, I've heard a few cases of shooting, but stabbing seems to be the weapon and the methodology, the method of choice. And I'm here to say that if we as a society are not alarmed, if we don't wake up and start educating parents and environments and family and communities to recognize whether it be their child or someone else's child who's showing, usually these children show signs. And the parents say, oh, he's okay, or, he's struggling, but, I'll talk to him, and the child is rude, and the child is rebellious, and they brush it off. And the child shows anger the way the parent themselves becomes a little scared a few times of the anger, but then they brush it off. And then one day we read about it in the news. This is not a path that we can continue to go down. It's not my generation, it's the one that's here now. I teach my children differently, and I would hope, even though we can't screw on children, that they will grow up with all the love and attention they can. I am lucky enough to be able to provide that, but I'm very well aware, being in this role of almost 300 episodes, of the struggles of families. And I would hope that we as a society can take our heads out of the sand long enough to realize that all of us, our time on this earth is temporary. And if we don't put effort into building and molding and educating and in some cases correcting through positive methods with results for the next generation and the next generation, the world is in trouble, and our children will have to deal with that generation, even if we bring them up and we raise them correctly. It's an important conversation I'm having with you at this moment because I said to you that this is the 299th episode. And I'm inviting you all to come join me for the next episode, which is the 300th episode, and which for now will be the last episode of 247 Real Talk podcast. It will not necessarily be a goodbye, but it may be. Maybe I'll see you again sometime soon. I'm not abandoning the mailbox, the email, podcast at 247realtalk.net. So I will always monitor it weekly at least and try to respond to anyone reaching out and wanting a one-on-one word of support or wisdom. I know there's some of you who will be very disappointed that I have made this decision. I know there's some of you that will just move on. And I know there's some of you who don't care. I can see all of that because there are many more things I will say in the last episode. In the episode to come, the 300th, I will celebrate where we have arrived together. I will tell you a bit about the journey, and then I will tell you how it has reached its timely, I don't want to say demise, for a minimum pause in history. History is a very important word as I get to the end of this phase of this journey of this podcast. It's important because it's important for us to recognize too that our history is now. That things like the civil rights movement were not that long ago. And many of us talk about those who came before us and paved the way. And we sit with our hands folded thinking the job is done. The job with our children is not done. The job with rights, equal rights for every human being is not done. The fact is that Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X's and all these people were a part of the journey. When they left this world, the journey was not over. It is not over. The task is not over. The business of equality for all of us with respect for humanity and acceptance for all is not done. And so even though in the next episode, the 300th episode, as I said, it will be for now at least the last episode of 247 Real Talk. My work is not done. It simply will begin a new phase in new ways that I seek to touch the lives of others in a positive way, to recognize challenges even when people can't speak of their own challenges, and to be a part of this world, earning my right to occupy a space in this world with kindness, humanity, love, and all the things that were adorned upon me by my God, my Creator, who placed me here for purpose and for this time. So please do join me for the next and last episode. And until I see you again, probably within a month, you'll see a pop-up for those of you who have that subscribe and know when the episodes go live. Remember this journey. Remember your responsibilities. Put effort and thought into what you do next. And until we speak again for the 300th episode, please take care of yourselves and each other.